And gentlemen, that might have been my smoothest transition ever because it's 7 o'clock on the dot and I'm in my drop top cruising to Third Down Thursdays. Let's get it, baby. That's MJ Hurley. I'm Coach Bruce. Another Third Down Thursday coming at you live. We have an amazing show planned for you guys. It's going to be fun. Might be a little longer tonight, but guys, I am jacked, ready to go. MJ, what's up, dog?
Not much. Long day at work. I got to go outside today, on iPads outside.
You had recess?
I had recess, Coach Bruce.
That's awesome.
I got to go play outside in the sun today. It was a much needed relief.
I don't blame you.
It really was. Got to see the wifey for the first time since Monday today, because we've been on opposite schedules the last 2 days.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm a little tired, but I got some caffeine.
Sometimes it's kind of nice, though.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the day, right?
Well said. Well said.
But, at the end of the day, you marry him for a reason. So it's good to be around him. But, yes, we have a fantastic show planned this evening. My good friend Reid Birlingmair, who is currently in the Texas Rangers system, playing here in Frisco, which is going to be awesome with Astros Rangers going on right now. Yep. And then another long lost friend, Thomas Harding, who's the beat writer for MLB.com for the Colorado Rockies. We'll have him on at the end of the show. He's going to break down the Rockies and then just the rest of baseball, because the dude is wicked smart when it comes to baseball. He's been doing this for a long time. So he knows way more than me and Bruce when it comes to that. Yeah. So I'm really excited for this. Before those two interviews starting at 7:25, before that, we'll have Connor's segment in a little bit. So a little bit of NFL. Once we hit 7:25 with those two gentlemen coming on, it will be all baseball for the rest of this show. It's a little bit of a rarity around here, but I'm excited.
A little scary. That's the area of subject area. There you go. Wow. Subject area, man. I need that caffeine, MJ. That subject area where I've been lacking a lot lately because you know me, I'm more of that local guy that pays attention to the Cubs and White Sox, and yes, sometimes White Sox too. And I'm gonna tell you something. There hasn't been a reason for me to watch much, although I do watch playoff baseball. Playoff baseball is the absolute best.
Yes.
But
this man loves playoff baseball. And I'm going to take my time real quick before we get to you, Coach Bruce. I want to give a huge shout out to Jackson and Cy, who are doing a fantastic job with their show every Monday at noon, Beer versus Ivy. They've done 3 weeks so far of their live show. They are absolutely killing it.
Logo's right here.
The numbers they're getting are fantastic. Great logo made by Coach Bruce. And they're having a lot of fun, and I really enjoy watching them. I have Mondays off right now. It seems to be in the future. So also, Jackson and I might be able to produce for you guys moving forward.
Let's
talk to you about that soon. But then I also want to give a shout out to Mackenzie, who started working with us. She is a broadcast and sports media student at LSU. She does
SEC Nation.
Yes, she's done a lot of good job doing some sports reporting. We brought her onto the team starting yesterday. She's going to be doing a show every Wednesday at 6 p.m. A little bit of a different vibe than we normally have at Third Down Thursdays, but I'm really excited. Spotlight for Success every Wednesday at 6 p.m., doing some feature stories, giving you kind of the background on sports that Bruce and I normally don't have because Mackenzie has that eye for detail. So I'm really excited about that. And without further ado, Bruce, make me stop talking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shout out. But, hey, got to get that shout out. And also, Cy, real quick, I will not take credit for that logo. That logo was designed by you guys. Saying that, though.
Oh, true.
I did do the overlay for it. So
Yes.
Anyway. So
How you doing, Bruce?
Hanging in there, I guess. Today, another Thursday, another day. I get to hang out with my daughter. The nice thing is now we have finally developed a great routine, MJ.
Yes.
Like with feeding, with playing, with and then naps. So I can usually get a lot of my work done during the course of those like nap periods.
That's good.
Although today there was a little bit more difficult because I was kind of doing a professional development thing. And
okay,
when you're doing a professional development with an awake 6-month-old,
yeah,
it's not the easiest thing to do. Not the easiest thing to do. But we still got done with it. Still
athletes adjust. Yeah,
exactly. Good players adjust. Exactly. So everything's all good. The everything, the Zoom with the professional development went well.
Good.
No issues with that. Let's see what else has been really going on. I don't know, man. It's yeah. Yesterday I went. So before the so yesterday's work day, MJ, consisted of me playing golf and then going into the office for a couple hours and then coming. So it wasn't bad. That being said, let me tell you, Mackenzie's a really good golfer. She told me some of the scores that she was
really?
getting. Yeah. Yep. So she was telling me some of the scores she was getting, and I was I haven't been out that much this year. Let's just put it that way. And regardless if I went out a lot this year, I wouldn't put up the scores that she was putting up. So
my dad and I played a scramble on Monday, and we shot 2 under.
Yeah, so
I made like a 52-foot eagle putt.
That's pretty nasty.
Oh yeah, it was. Bruce, I don't know if I will have a better golf moment. Like literally the hardest green at this golf course. My dad and I just suck at this hole every single time. It's so bad. We legitimately like double bogey it as a scramble every time.
Yeah.
And I hit. It's this giant down sloping. We're all the way at the top of the green, and I took this egregious line, like I aimed off the green, and it just slid all the way down and just dropped in the hole. It was gorgeous, and I started screaming. It was great.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But I think hold on real quick before we jump on our next segment, MJ.
Yes.
Her scores were. She said she usually averaged in the 70s, and her best was a 68.
Okay, so Mackenzie could beat you and I playing as a scramble.
Yep.
Good to know. Good to know.
So,
Dang.
So now
with that
being said, we would like to bring on our guy for probably the best podcast segment that's going around right now. Better than anything you will see on Pat McAfee's show. Better than anything you may see on ESPN. Period. Better than anything you see on whatever, on anything. Saying that, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you the Davis Division.
The soon to be.
Get you some of that. Let's get it, dog.
The soon to be best segment in sports, the Davis Division. If y'all didn't hear me last week, my Wi-Fi was kind of bad. Shout out to Hattiesburg Wi-Fi. I was kind of cutting out. But I was basically saying that we're calling this the Davis Division because I want my last name to be known rather than my first. And speaking of Davis, I like to call him D Money Davis, my DeMario Davis jersey. So let me go ahead and just say this. Shout out to my mom for the Saints attire. She did get me this hat and jersey.
All right, Mama Davis, correct?
Mama Davis,
Yeah.
Mama D, Mama D.
Mama
Shout
D.
out.
Shout out to Mama D out there.
Yes,
Mama D,
yes.
you've done well with your son.
Oh,
that's very true. That's very. I will second that. Second that.
Good man, right there. Good man.
But just like Bruce, a couple weeks ago, the Bears were on, but my Saints are on. So right now, I have my phone just out in the background. Gotta peek at it.
Yeah. I got the game on myself still. I got my degenerate bet in, so we're good.
You know how it is. If y'all haven't read my article on the game, go ahead and read it because look, you got about 6 minutes till kickoff. So go ahead and read it real quick.
There you go.
Till kickoff. Okay.
Oh, we got Connor shout out. Shout out. And
Hi,
real quick. I think this is a guy I used to coach in basketball. If so, what up, my guy? Good to see that you're doing well. And let's get after it, Connor.
Okay. So, Coach Bruce,
Yes,
I want to direct this first question to you.
Okay.
It is a bittersweet homecoming for wide receiver Mecole Hardman as the Chiefs send a 6th-round draft pick to the Jets for Hardman and a 7th.
Okay.
An interesting fact is Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore have all combined for only 35 catches, 335 yards, and 2 touchdowns for the whole season. So my question to you, Coach Bruce, is do you think that this Hardman trade will lead to a better pass productive season for the Chiefs?
No, I do not. Actually, I think in my opinion, I think that Patrick Mahomes passing the ball to Mr. Pfizer or Mr. Swift. Oh, sorry. Mr. Kelsey. That was low-hanging fruit. I had to take full advantage of that while I could. But I think if you could get a wide receiver core of that tight end, then you should be fine. Because he's not really a tight end. He's more of a slower receiver. He doesn't block much. Anyway. So to go back to your original question, though, it's not gonna help. I'm curious to know what their combined drops are this year too, Connor. Because I think that would be a pretty high number. I would not be surprised, and this is something that we did not talk about at all. So there's also another wide receiver that's out there that's a little disgruntled. There's a guy that may want to be paired up with a really good quarterback. His name is Devontae Adams. I would love to see the Kansas City Chiefs throw draft picks to the Raiders to pair him with Patrick Mahomes, because I think that would be an absolutely awesome pairing, even though I don't think it was on any of the betting boards or whatever. But my first thought immediately when I saw that was go to the Chiefs. So that being said, it's not going to help the Chiefs wide receiver core, but you still have the best quarterback in the league, and you also have the best tight end in the league. So, but yeah.
Perfect. And on that note, like a veteran wide receiver getting to a good team in the NFL, Julio Jones did get signed to the Eagles. So we'll see how that goes if he does start.
I just want Julio to get a ring. I
really don't feel
care. That. If the Eagles have to win the Super Bowl for Julio to get a ring, I'm fine with that. I will still be leading the pump the brakes on the Jalen Hurts hype train, but I love Julio Jones, and to see him not have a ring just makes me a little sad.
I'm sorry. Can I say something real quick? I'm sorry, you guys. Yeah. I don't think I personally don't think Jalen Hurts is having a very good year, and
he's not.
There's part of me that the only reason why he's good, and I said this for our 32 teams, 32 insults. He has an awesome core of people around him and an amazing offensive line. And his defense, guess what? I'm going to use one of your references to the amazing GOAT ever, Tom Brady. Guess what? His defense always helped him out too. So saying that, I think that Jalen Hurts might be a little overrated.
Yeah, I said it. Connor, tell him. I said it last week. Like
he did.
Jalen Hurts gets carried by the best offensive line in football. He has 2 top 20 wide receivers. I mean, A.J. Brown is probably top 10.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith, if he got more touches, would be higher rated, right, in the public eye. And then he's got one of the best running back cores in the league. And that's not even including the defense, right?
Right, and that's not including Dallas Goedert as one of the best tight ends in football right now. I mean, he's not the greatest, obviously, but he's in the top 5. He's in the top 5 conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah. So
once again, MJ, you and I are always on the same wavelength. It's kind of scary.
Wavelength. Whose dog is
MJ? You know what you also said last week?
Yes.
You did not think that there was a world where the Jets would beat the Eagles for the first time in their franchise history. And guess what happened?
I saw that.
Guess what happened?
I even tweeted it during the game. I literally went to get the clip during the game because I was like, this game is over. It was 14-3. The Jets were getting curb stomped. And listen, all I have to say is shout out Shout out to Mama Kelsey for being at that game, because that was the inspiration that Zach Wilson needed
Oh,
to go win that football game. Was he looked up into that suite? Well, no, they don't get a suite in Philly because Jason Kelsey isn't cool enough. She looked up into the fourth section and saw Mama Kelsey, and he said, "Boys, let's go. We got to win this football game.
Win it for Mama.
Win it for Mama K." Oh my gosh! Anyway,
I don't know. Mine was a little bit of Bobby Boucher right there. Mama said. Alligators are ornery because of their medulla oblongata.
What? All right, Connor, what else you got for us?
MJ, this question's directed to you, my good sir. Now, going back to the NFL draft, I know I kind of shouted out myself for getting that CJ Stroud kind of like prospect thing right. Yeah. So I tend to give myself credit with this one too. I was not a big Anthony Richard hype. I do not think that having one season starting in college is enough to grant you a starting spot in the NFL. I don't think it transfers. He had like less than I think it was like around 60% passing completion. Like I don't think that's good. I honestly don't think that's great for one season.
Especially not college.
He had like 1,200 yards passing. Anyways, the injury was worse than the Colts thought, and Anthony Richardson will undergo a season-ending surgery on his right throwing shoulder. Okay, what do you think this means for the Colts as the season progresses, and do you think Mississippi native Gardner Minshew will take the Colts back to where they need to be?
So, okay, here's the thing. No, Gardner Minshew is not going to take the Colts where they quote unquote need to be, because where they need to be is in a Super Bowl, right? Like that's where every NFL team needs to be, right? That's where what they're gonna say. And as much as I may love the Mississippi Minshew mania that is Gardner Minshew, he's not a quarterback that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl. Now, they're going to play some good football because they have an incredibly good running game. Like, not only will Jonathan Taylor get back up to speed and be one of the best running backs in football, but Zach Moss has looked incredible in that system. Their offensive line is still ridiculous, and their defense is better than people expected. So, shout out again to the Eagles. Like, when you play good defense and have a good running game, it makes the quarterback's life so much easier, right? So in terms of looking forward for Anthony Richardson, it's an issue because, any injury to a throwing shoulder is not good, right? Anthony Richardson does not need to be a star top 5 quarterback in the NFL with the current roster of the Colts in order for them to succeed. However, long term, this is still a concern, right? Because there were all of the accuracy concerns coming out of college. Even this season, the knock was he can run, he's athletic, but some of the decision making and some of the throws that he made, like, even if he made the right decision, he has a cannon. He just doesn't know where that cannon is going. So, I really hope that Anthony Richardson comes back, is able to produce well, and I think he has the athletic potential to be an incredible quarterback in the NFL. That's why he got drafted as high as he did.
Why did that just sound like Justin Fields right there? Sorry, go ahead, MJ.
It really does, and that's my concern, Bruce and Connor, is that at the end of the day, it turns into a situation like that where we look back 5-10 years later and we're like, dang, that kid had so much athleticism. He had so much potential, but whether it's because of injury or whether it's because of the bad organization he was put into, it might not pan out. Now, I think even as much as we may knock Jim Irsay and his coke doing self for how that organization runs, below the owner, I think they're in a much better place than the Bears are. So I think Richardson has the chance to succeed, but it's still going to be an uphill battle.
So, go ahead, Connor. So I just want to follow up with what MJ was saying, what we kind of talked about right beforehand with regards to completion percentage.
Yeah,
this year so far, he would not fall into the top 50 for completion percentage this year right now.
Yeah, that's not good.
So I'm sorry, at least Justin Fields coming out of college was known for having good accuracy with the deep ball and good accuracy, period. At least known for it. I haven't looked at the percentages on that one. I just recall, Fields
absolutely was a better passer. Now, part of that was Anthony Richardson's team in Florida was absolutely hot
Stacked.
trash. What?
There was no, sorry. They were. I was thinking of Florida State. I don't know. Continue. My bad. I just remember them being trash. They were trash because he had no receivers to throw to.
Yeah, they were terrible. Yeah, so the man just couldn't throw. So, like, I don't take that as a real statement. And even right now, the Colts do not have a good receiving core. Like, it is their running game, and he wasn't really asked to be a pocket passer and go throw 35 times a game. So, I mean, I don't really take much stock in 5 games in the 4.5 games in the NFL his rookie season. I would like a much bigger sample size before I can indict someone. But yeah,
Fair.
Connor, last one before we get to our first interview.
I want to ask, like, before we get into the last question.
Yeah.
Since Anthony Richardson is such a great athlete, like, that's not even arguable. He's probably one of either the best or one of the best in the draft at that time. The best pure athletes.
Correct.
So we take a look at people like Randall Cobb, for example. You're a big Randall Cobb guy, I assume, because you're a Packers guy.
Yeah.
Do we think that Anthony Richardson could maybe transition into another position other than quarterback?
He could, but he shouldn't.
Exactly. That's so dangerous.
He could, but he shouldn't. Terrell Pryor is the only one who's done that well. And it's still
Cordell Stewart did it well. Antoine Randall L did it well.
Randall L was a quarterback?
He was a quarterback. I think he was a quarterback at Indiana University.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about like actual NFL transition.
Oh, NFL transition?
Yeah. Now, obviously, he's an athlete. He could play any position on the football field if he wanted to, but
good call, Jack.
I
was about to just say Logan Thomas and Edelman. I was about to say them,
Yeah. The biggest value that he could have is at the quarterback position. So it would be idiotic of the Colts or anybody else down the line to not try and make it work at the quarterback position, because that's what you need is a freak athlete like that playing quarterback. If you can dial it in, like, the ceiling is incredible. Now it's a bigger bust factor, but than him, playing wide receiver or playing running back or something like that. But also it's a complete mental switch from what he's been doing for the last however many years. I just don't see that going.
And if you transition him to quarterback, I think it takes you further away from the destination that you want to be, and that's the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you want to see Jim Israel at the Super Bowl freaking sorting his brains out.
Anyway, speaking of snorting their brains out, let's talk about these Browns fans, Connor.
Oh my gosh, they better be ecstatic. They better be, because I got a little stat for you guys, and it was very interesting when I saw this. I saw it probably after the game, and I was like, "Ooh, I gotta save this for Thursday. Let's see what MJ and Bruce have to say about it." So, this has been over 50 years. Like, since the merger, they are number 3, but in over 50 years, it hadn't been done since 1971. So since 72, over 50 years, the Browns are the only team to give up less than 1,002 yards in the first 5 games of the season.
Wow.
Which is interesting. Like, since 1971, they've given up the fewest in the first 5 games of the season. Do we think, I'm going to start with you, Bruce, because MJ answered the last question, and then we'll go to MJ. Do you think the Browns are the best defense in the NFL, and can they continue to be the best defense in the NFL if they are right now?
All right. First question: Are they the best defense in the NFL? And that answer is a definite no. If you look at if you take a look at all the statistical information that the Browns have, they're middle of the pack and better, if I remember correctly, because I did take a look at some of that stuff earlier in the week. That being said, I just remember I didn't look at them specifically. I remember them being lower down. All right, but that being said, looking at their first 5 games of the season, they played the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow had a hurt Achilles, still messed up right now, and calf. Excuse me. Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, they're not. Who's their quarterback? And they lost. Exactly. And they lost to the Steelers too. And then they played the Titans. They have a struggling quarterback in Tannehill. And I'm sorry, Henry isn't the Henry that he used to be. And then you got the Baltimore Ravens, and they got freaking boat raced by the Baltimore Ravens 28-3. And now you have the San Francisco 49ers, which somehow they were able to pull out a win because Deshaun Watson needed to go get a massage. So that being said, man, I don't think that they can continue that same type of football the rest of this year. I truly don't. I think it's just a sheer coincidence that teams like the 49ers, like who else? The Titans and whoever the Bengals, especially the Bengals. They just got lucky by circumstance. And I know it's the NFL and things happen, injuries do occur, but I don't think that they can keep up with this rate. They're not as good as they they're not the best defense even in that division, in my opinion. How about that?
Okay. MJ, what's your take?
Are you saying the Steelers are a better defense? That's where you're going with that, right?
Yeah.
I would argue
I actually like the Ravens defense a little bit better too.
That's fair. No, I mean, they're playing very well defensively, and I think they're going to keep it up. I don't think they're a historically good defense. I think, like Bruce said, that curve is going to even out. I mean, their defense is what's going to win them games. It's not going to be their offense. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy for Browns fans for them to, get a big win at home middle of the season. That's great for them, but it doesn't mean that they're going to succeed in the playoffs because they're not going to. So, yes, sir. Connor, thank you so much again, as always, for leading us in the Davis division. We will see you next week. Good, sir. We appreciate your services.
I'm going to go watch the game. The game.
They're already losing. All right, dog. See you.
All right. Bye, Connor. All right. And before we get to our first guest of the evening, Reid Birlingmair, which I am so excited for, Bruce,
I got you.
What do we need? What do we need here?
Anytime you are traveling from different destinations, especially when you're in the minor leagues and you're working your way through a system, you need good car insurance.
Here's to the grown-ups. Your car is now your office, stage, nursery. Sorry, Erie Insurance offers products that lots of other companies don't. That's a big deal, and it's a good deal, too. And with Erie, you get your own independent agent, not a giant corporate call center or some online robot. You meet with a real person, like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
You call Jeff Wirtz at me at Erie Insurance at 704-464-4544. Let him know that Third Down Thursday sent you, and also tell him that DVOA is a very overrated analytical stat that doesn't mean jack shit.
And without further ado, Bruce and I are very happy to welcome to the show Reid Birlingmair. Bruce, why don't we bring him in? Reid, how you doing, sir?
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
I'm doing very good. We're enjoying ourselves already. I want to thank you so much for coming on, Reid. Bit of an upgrade since the last time you and I talked, I believe, right at the beginning of COVID. So real quick, brother, just give us a little breakdown for those watching and listening that don't know your path in baseball. Give us, your baseball story. Start as early as you want. Be my guest and lead us to where we are today.
Yeah. So I'm from Normal, Illinois. It's about 2 hours south of Chicago. Illinois State University's there. Illinois Wesleyan, a couple community colleges, but right in the middle of the state. Born and raised here in Normal. Went to Normal West High School. Wasn't very heavily recruited out of high school. Ended up walking on to University of Illinois Chicago. It's a smaller mid-major right in the city. Played 3 years there, had a really awesome experience. Was drafted my junior year in 2018 in the 28th round by the Oakland A's. Played 4 years for them, was primarily a starting pitcher. 2021, I tore my rotator cuff, so was rehabbing that all of 2022. I came back and still kind of had some lingering pain. It kind of lingered into my forearm. And so they actually released me. The A's released me in July of last year. So I ended up playing, getting signed by an indie ball team in Fargo, North Dakota called the Fargo Moorhead Redhawks. It's in the American Association. It's a really competitive league. I was kind of blown away at first by the level of competition. And so I played August and a little bit of September with them to finish the year out. So like right when I joined that team, they're on a playoff run, and we ended up actually winning the league, which was awesome.
Oh, wow.
Really cool experience there. Trained all off season, with you know, the hope of trying to get signed by an affiliate team. You know, did a couple pro days, went to Arizona, tried out for the Diamondbacks. You know, nothing really happened. So I went back to Fargo, North Dakota to start the year. Started there in May, and was off to a really good start. I was closing, you know, fastballs up to the upper 90s. Wow. And I started to get a little bit more attention, and you know, it happened pretty quick. But you know, the Rangers ended up signing me. I think it was the last day of May, and then I flew out to Hickory, North Carolina. So that's the high A team. Was there for about a month, and then got promoted to Double A, which is Frisco, Texas, and finished the season there. So really
awesome,
really cool experience. It was a really cool year for me, and just one of the more successful years of my baseball career so far. So looking to have a healthy off season and go into the 2024 season ready to roll. So.
Reid, if you are, obviously, I hope you advance as quickly as you possibly can. But if you're still in Frisco next season, I just moved to Frisco like 2 weeks ago.
Yes, that's what you were saying. That's what you're saying. It's an awesome area, man. I can't say it now. I loved my whole time I was there. It was awesome. It was a little hot at times, but you know, that's what air conditioning's for. But no, it was awesome. If you've never been to that ballpark, I mean, they do a really good job there too. Just a whole fan experience. There's a lazy river in right field. They have a lot of promotionals.
Dude, it's awesome.
It's a really cool place.
I gotta move.
Bruce, you really do.
I gotta move.
You really do. But yeah, so Reid, I literally live right behind the Giant Mall. That's right by that stadium. So I legitimately live like 5 minutes from the stadium. So I'm hoping to cover the team next year.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, again, obviously, I want you to advance as quickly as possible. Advance all the way to the Rangers, you know, all the way to the majors, because then you'll still be like 30 minutes away.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's
awesome. So how fun is it? Obviously, you know, you just spent a year in the Rangers organization, and now they're in the ALCS doing, you know, amazing things. They're up 2-1 on the Astros. How fun is that to watch?
It's really fun. It's a lot of fun, and it makes it. What makes it even funner is I actually got to go to Globe Life Field twice.
That's awesome.
Once to pitch against a rehabbing Corey Seager. He was coming back from his thumb injury.
Oh wow!
So they sent me over there, and I threw about 30 pitches to him, and he was in the game later that night. Because they didn't want to send him on another rehab stint. They just wanted him to see some live pitching. And his first at bat back, he hit a home run off of Dylan Cease with the White Sox. So that was pretty cool. And then the second time I went back, I faced Adolis Garcia, who was coming back off of a little injury, and got to pitch about 30 pitches against him. So I got to meet, you know, a bunch of the guys, you know, hanging out around the clubhouse. And it makes it a little bit more personal because it was my first year with the organization. So, you know, I didn't have that spring training time with a lot of those guys. But no, I mean, they do it right. The Rangers are a really, really good organization. You know, they really treat the players well, and it's fun to see them have success at the major league level because they do a lot of things right in their minor leagues as far as developing players and treating everybody right. And, you know, it just goes to show, you know, a lot of the homegrown talent that they've had up through that system, you know, is playing in the big leagues right now. So it's been fun to watch.
It's awesome. Well, Reid, I want to just say before I ask you any questions, congratulations on what you've accomplished so far in such a short period of time. I think it's really awesome. And I got to tell you, dude, that there was so much excitement from MJ when he told me that you were going to come on the show with us. Oh, yeah. And because he's like, yeah, I've had him on before we started doing the show. And I think it'd be really cool for you to like interact with them too. So that being said, man, it is an absolute honor for you to be jumping on with us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I like this kind of stuff. It's fun. You know,
hell yeah, dude.
A little hiccup in my daily routine. So it's
exactly.
It's awesome.
Hey, good players adjust.
That's right.
But that's the second time I've used that line tonight, MJ. So real quick though, man, like, so you actually were talking about, I was just looking at your stats right now that you had with Fargo Moorhead, and man, dude, you were lights out with a 2.79 ERA in 9 game appearances. Can you talk to me a little bit about the pitches that you throw? Are you like just like a 3-pitch type guy, 2-pitch type guy as a closer, or were you actually trying to throw the stuff that you had as a starter?
That's a great question. And my arsenal, really is actually the complete opposite from when I was a starter. So when I was with the A's, I was mostly two seam, a lot of sliders and changeup.
Okay.
Right now, I'm mostly four seam. I throw a lot of cutters, and the changeup is kind of my swing and miss pitch. And I'll throw a little slider in there sometimes, but I consider it my fourth pitch.
Okay.
But no, it was, the velo came back, as relieving, it's a little different mentality. You go out there and,
Right.
you don't really have to save pitches. You kind of
Let it
blow it
rip,
out
yep.
all in one inning, knowing you're not going to, be facing, the lineup a couple times through. So it's a little different mentality, and I like it. You got to go out there and you got to be good right away. You got to throw strikes and get hitters out. And, you have pitches to make adjustments. You don't have, innings to make adjustments. And it's a little bit more adrenaline. And I think that kind of fits me better. And it's worked out. In Fargo, I was, closing games, coming in high leverage situations, and had a really, really good start. And it's funny because I think my last outing there, I actually had my worst appearance. I think I came in like I think it was a 1-1 game in the ninth, and I gave up, I think, 2 runs to lose the game. And then the next day I got signed by the Rangers. So it was kind of a
that's crazy
turnaround. Very, very low to high feeling, but it worked out. So
for sure. Well, aside from the transition from a starter to a closer, obviously, like you already alluded to, you kind of have to change up your pitches a little bit, strikes faster instead of pitch to pitch instead of inning to inning and whatnot. Was part of the reason why you kind of adjusted like the types of pitches you threw because of the stress that it may have put on your rotator after you tore it, and so that way you didn't end up causing any more type of damage or potential more damage or anything?
Yeah. So with all the metrics that are available now, there's something called a Rapsoda unit that a lot of pitchers use. Now it's basically a camera that you put behind the plate. Or in front of the plate, and it tracks like all these different metrics like spin rate, vertical movement, horizontal movement. So we were noticing in the off season that my fastball had good vertical movement, a good spin efficiency, meaning I spin it really well. So we thought, me and my trainer here thought that it'd be better to kind of transition to a four seam fastball.
Okay.
And then we kind of added the cutter this off season because naturally I kind of would cut my four seam. So I thought if I could do it on accident, I could surely do it on purpose.
Yep.
And, that ended up being a really, really good pitch for me this year. It was awesome. Right in that 88 to 91, 92 range. And I think I threw it about 40% of the time. So it ended up being a really big pitch for me. And I think, I credit that to a lot of the success I had. And then that with the changeup as well. And then it was nice with the Rangers about a month in. When I was there, we have some analytical guys on staff, and they kind of came up to me and were like, "Hey, let's look at these numbers. Your fastball is playing up in the zone, the upper third of the zone. Let's try to primarily throw it there." And it was the first time, in my career, anybody's ever told me to, purposely throw up in the zone. So I kind of I kind of took it and ran with it, and it ended up, working out for the most part. Fastballs tend to play up there now with the whole way hitters are trying to swing now, trying to get under the ball and lift it. But it was a lot different because in college, we were told to keep the ball down. We had strings in our bullpens to try to, work down there, shoot the knees, and then coming up as a starter with a two seam, you obviously want to try to keep that down as well. So it's complete opposite pitch arsenal, but it really worked out. So,
Reid, do you do or have you done like? And I know that you probably might have a different phrasing for this, but like speed training. So I know you mentioned your fastball has gotten more into the upper 90s. Now that you're doing a little bit more relieving, is that something you're like intentionally focusing on? Or is it kind of more a natural, like as I get better, as my mechanics get better, my body gets stronger, it's just going to go up? Or is that something you're focusing on specifically?
Yeah. So a lot of times it's kind of you call it a speed training. So like in baseball, we'd call it like a velocity program.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of players would do that in the off season. And yes, it's something I'll work on here probably about 3 weeks. I just started throwing 2 weeks ago. So you kind of got to slowly ramp up. I took 3 weeks off of throwing. But yeah, basically a velocity program to me would be some weighted balls, some heavier balls, and underweighted ball throwing. And then just the whole strength training piece of it is huge for me as well. Just really getting after in the weight room. And that would be my quote unquote velocity program. I kind of accredit to a couple things with Velo Jump. Last year I kind of started writing my own strength programs. I got my CSCS last November. I studied for it when I was rehabbing, actually. So a certified strength and conditioning specialist. So I learned a lot from it and kind of applied that to my own training, and just kind of ran with it and knew what felt good for me and knew where I wanted to go and kind of take myself. So I think I got a lot stronger last off season and kind of showed up.
You're speaking Bruce's language there.
I don't. I study kinesiology in college.
Okay.
So I have a lot of familiarity with CSCS and parts of it. I didn't actually go for my certificate. I wanted to at some point, but I never did. So, but that's really cool though. I love it. I love it.
Thank you,
Bruce. You'd be great at that.
Thanks, man.
You look like a weightlifting coach or like a strength coach.
It's because I'm bald, bro.
Yeah,
That's because I'm bald. Like I get.
That's
Okay.
exactly what it is.
No,
Whatever.
He just needs the beard down to his chest now. And
No, I'm good about that. I'm good. I'm not that guy. I am not that guy.
Oh my gosh. All right.
That's good. That's good. All right. Anyway, let's change the subject now. I probably could grow more hair on my chin than I could on my head now.
Now it's been like that for 5 years, Bruce. Holy. Anyway. All right. So Reid, I'm curious. This is going to be an oddly specific question, but just bear with me. When you're watching baseball games, like say you're watching Rangers Astros, what are the things you're looking at when you're watching those games? Because I know even like Bruce, I don't even know if I told you this, Reid, but Bruce was my freshman baseball coach. That's how he and I know each other. Okay. So, I grew up I played baseball for like 18 years. So even for me, who never played it professionally, when I watch baseball, I feel like I look at different things than just like the average baseball fan. So when you're watching a game, being somebody that actually plays it for a living, what are the types of things that you're looking at, through an average like playoff game?
Yeah. For me, a lot of times I just like watching pitchers who remind me of myself. So I'd be relievers with kind of the same pitch arsenal. I like watching how they sequence against different hitters, especially left-handed hitters. Just how they pair different pitches off of each other. I like to look at back leg mechanics, just because right now I'm currently working on a lot of lower half mechanical stuff myself. So that's kind of been what I've been doing recently, just watching, mechanically sound pitchers. But it's funny you asked that, because one thing I really like that our manager did this year in AA, we had meetings called ball talk meetings after the game the next day.
Okay.
In our clubhouse. And, he would hand out these little notebooks, little spiral notebooks, and he would give them to the relievers sitting in the bullpen who weren't hot that day, who weren't available that day. Mm-hmm. And he'd have one for base running, he'd have one for pitching, and he'd have one for hitting and defense. So, if you weren't in the game, you'd have to write down notes about, particular things that went well or didn't go well, just little nuances, and bring them up during the ball talk meeting. And, it could be anything from, like 2-out hitting, a runner took an extra base, because he was heads up and the guy bobbled it, just good takes on a nasty pitch, stuff like that, that, the average fan wouldn't necessarily pick up on. And I think it was a very helpful, especially for some of the younger guys on that team in AA. So
awesome. That's pretty
really
cool.
Like that.
Yeah, same. It keeps you engaged into the game and action that's going on. That's great. I love that. I love that. So this is a question that we like to ask, and you don't have to throw anybody under the bus, Reid. That's not necessary. However, we would like it. Saying that, is there a guy that you faced, and you could say college, professional, independent? I'm sorry, that's still professional, or even high school for that matter, that you felt that you're like, oh, okay, or it could be a friend even that you like you are competitive with, like that you say, you know what, I should be able to strike this dude out. I should be fine with, but for whatever reason, this dude was able to hit like 300, 350 off of you consistently, and you're like, what the shit? So who is that guy? And I'm just curious as to do you still have the relationship with him?
I think that would take me back to college. There was a left-handed hitter named Gabe Snyder that went to Wright State.
Okay.
Was drafted by the Twins, I think in 2018, and played a number of years with them.
Okay.
But he'd always have my number, man. I think he probably hit like 750 off me with probably 4 or 5 walks, a couple home runs mixed in there, and then it's funny. We actually
I was being nice with 350.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he was actually in the independent ball league I was in when I first got released. We ended up running into each other. We played for Sioux City, the Sioux City Explorers in Iowa. So he's a good hitter still. I don't even know if he's playing still, but I mean he definitely has my number for sure.
Wow.
Bruce, every pitcher, like Reid, we asked this question for all sorts of athletes, but like when we ask pitchers specifically, or even just baseball players in general, they always have a guy. Like defensive backs in the NFL are like, nah, nobody's got me, right? No, pitchers, every pitcher who's ever pitched for an extended period of time has a guy that had their number.
For sure. You don't forget it. You forget all the strikeouts and stuff. You only remember the guys that do damage. So
I love it.
It's funny.
I love
as
that.
far as I can tell, I don't know if he's still playing. I'm trying to find him for you.
He's trying to find him.
I'm trying to find him for you, Reid.
Reid's like, I do not give a damn. I do not want to hear what he's doing right now.
Away from me.
That's great. That's great. Well, so Reid, I got one more question for you, man. And once again, I want to say thank you for being able to jump on with MJ and I. But I have one question left for you. So when you have the minute a little bit of free time that you have away from training, away from studying and whatever, what are you doing? Are you a Call of Duty person? Are you like, I'm going to go outside for a walk and get away from everything? What's your go-to? Or not? I mean, and stay away from lifting, because I want something that's just like, because I would say lifting, but like find something else other than like physical activity like that. I mean, you could say playing basketball. I don't care about that's cool too, but like, just stay away from those things that we would assume. Like, what do you do for your free time?
Yeah, good question. I live here with my girlfriend and my dog. He's a pug, so taking care of him.
What's his name?
My girlfriend, Louie.
I was gonna say you can't skate that pass without saying the name.
Yeah, grew up a St. Louis Cardinals fan, so that's where Louis came from.
Wow.
But no, free time wise, like I don't play much video games. I did play quite a bit when I was rehabbing my shoulder, just because you have so much free time there.
Right.
But I do give a lot of lessons here in town to local athletes, and then we actually just started a remote training program where we kind of train athletes remotely. So I have 31 athletes right now that I'm training remotely. It's passive income. I love doing it. It keeps me busy. And that's, it's when people ask me, what my free time is, it's like, yeah, I train for baseball. And then when I'm not training, I'm coaching baseball. So it's like baseball. It's kind of a bad thing, but I need to find a hobby that's not related to baseball. But I mean, walking my dog, I'll walk him all day long. And
it's healthy though. It's a healthy hobby. That's a good thing. And before MJ takes his last questions for you, Reid, I just want to follow up real quick on that. Please, by all means, plug yourself before you leave us tonight on the program that you do. What's it called? Or how they can contact you and all that, please.
Yeah. So the training facility is Coach K's Training Academy. I believe that's the Instagram as well and Twitter. Coach K's Academy. We're a local facility here in Bloomington Normal. You can get on our website, casetrainingacademy.com, and there's a link to our online training platform if you want to work with me directly. I also have a Instagram account. It's Burley, BURLY _pitching. It's kind of my not a burner account because I use it for content and stuff. But
you don't call it a burner account.
There's a link to our sign up page for online training there as well.
It's great.
Awesome. Reid, my last question. Do you still talk to Charlie?
Yep.
Charlie
every day.
Cerny.
He's still training with me in the mornings at K's, and we still have a good relationship.
I love that. So, like Bruce, like I told you before, that's I interviewed Reid and Charlie, and I believe I also talked to Josh as a part of that story, right, Reid? I think a long time ago.
I think you did. Yeah.
So they've got a great thing going on over there, especially now that you guys are doing remote stuff. That's awesome because they've done some fantastic stuff for those local kids, and I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. I enjoy doing it. Keeps you busy and keeps me engaged. So
yes, sir. All right. Well, Reid, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Definitely, we'll have to have you on again. Best of luck to your Rangers in the playoffs. Please, for the love of all that's good and right in this world, take down the Astros.
Please.
Yeah, you're telling me, right? Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for having us. It's been fun.
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Reid.
We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Dude, what a good guy right there. And the fact that he's a part of the Rangers organization, busting his tail, trying to get better, always a good thing.
Yes, sir.
But,
Bruce, before we get on to our next guest, Thomas Harding. Thomas, you got about a minute before we're going to bring you in. Bruce, you know what I love more than a good interview?
Good homeowners insurance?
Yes, sir.
Erie Insurance says here's to the grown-ups who move, mortgage, mow, and still bust a move. But does your home insurance still fit? Erie helps you protect the home you've grown into, all at fair prices that are often less than the other guys. So how do you find the right coverage? Magic. Nope. Local independent agents who get to know you like this.
Your local Erie agent is Building Block Insurance Group. Get a quote today at 704-464-4544.
Erie Insurance.
And when you call Jeff Wertepney at Building Block Insurance Group, a.k.a. Erie, a.k.a. Amazing Insurance at 704-464-4544, make sure you mention Third Down Thursdays, and you will get a significant discount on said insurance. It's amazing. We got some of it. Got buddies that have it. Got some. It's good stuff.
Yes, sir. What's even better is our next interview with Thomas Harding, who has been covering the Rockies since 2000 and for MLB.com since 2002. I talked to him maybe 2-3 years ago for my show before we started Third Down Thursdays. It has been way too long. So, Bruce, let's bring in Thomas.
Yes, sir.
Thomas, how you doing, sir?
I feel good. I feel clean. How about you guys?
We are doing fantastic. Got a little bit of an extended show this evening. I got my caffeine, and we're feeling great.
I'm hydrating, so there we go.
There we go.
There it is. There it is.
So, Thomas, just to give you a little bit of a background, obviously you and I have talked before, but Bruce was my freshman baseball coach, is how we met, and why he goes by the moniker of Coach Bruce. We started this probably literally a month or two after you and I talked years ago. And so, wanted to bring you back on because I had so much fun, chatting with you before. So if you could give everybody a little breakdown. Obviously, I introed you, but, tell us about yourself and give us a little intro of yourself.
I've been, as you said, covering the Rockies since 2000. Before that, probably a little bit of everything. I actually, on the way to covering the Rockies, covered every level of the minors, rookie, A, AA, Triple A. So I kind of feel like one of those players that kind of worked his way up. So I've been hanging around a long time here, and just enjoy this game of baseball. It's funny. I grew up playing more football than baseball, but baseball was always the best sport to write about, the best sport to follow. There's always something every day. I always joke about how I used to watch soap operas, and baseball's like a soap opera, because the plots can be the plots can be ridiculous, and it's usually based on some sort of contract status where something ridiculous happens. So, someone's missing and presumed dead, but then they sign a new deal and voila, they show up again 3 years later. Or, the kids are, infants. Then after 2 years of going off to Switzerland, they're young adults. I mean, baseball's kind of like that,
I love it. I
That
love
is the
it.
best analogy for baseball I have ever heard. Oh
I've never heard
gosh.
of it being a soap opera. I've heard it being called I've heard it being called a little, romanticized and things like that. But now I can see the correlation that you're going at right there.
I can
Yes.
just see like MLB and Days of Our Lives merging together.
That's right.
As
That's
long as
amazing.
it's not General Hospital. You never want it.
Well, have you seen the Rockies injured list with their pitchers?
Hey.
General Hospital. There you go.
Yeah, it's not just their pitchers. I mean, I had a guy that I used to be a fan of that's over there in Denver. So I get with Chris Bryant. He hasn't been healthy for a while either. So, but,
yeah, he's more or less the star when he's available. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, Thomas, before we get to the major leagues, since you brought up the minors, I'm curious, what is like your favorite memory? I know this is going to be hard, but what's your favorite memory of your years covering the minors?
Well, there were two things I remember covering the minors. Number one, I'm barely out of high school, and one of the brightest and most fun players to ever be around. He always had a smile on his face. He always was laughing, and he was only a year or two older than I was, I think, or maybe even around the same age, was Billy Ripken. I mean, he taught guys how to slam their bats in disgust without the bat bouncing up and hitting them in the face. It's stuff like that that's great. I mean, I was once smoked by a pitcher. He was in the bullpen. At that time, that was Bluefield, West Virginia, an Orioles farm club. He smokes me in the leg, and I turn around and look at him, and he comes off the mound and stares me down. He had thrown it over the bullpen catcher. That was scary. But I guess the other thing was in 1994, I was in the Southern League covering the Memphis Chicks, and who was playing for the Birmingham Barons? I actually went down for opening day, but Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say it.
Yes. I mean, that was a fun year all the way throughout, and I will have to say that was one of the most professional athletes I'd ever spoken to, a guy who obviously, gave baseball a shot there. And Terry Francona still says if he had gotten 1,500 at bats, he'd have been a major league player, and I liked dealing with the guy. And one of the things that I saw, because I was covering a lot of minor leagues, I did do some professional football. But one of the things that I noticed was that at that time, a lot of athletes didn't pay a lot of attention to their interviews. To be honest, they were doing something else, putting away their equipment or whatever, and talking to you. And Michael, I remember once I go to talk to him in Birmingham. I'm like, "Hey, you have a few minutes?" He goes, "Yeah, my man, I'll come back in a bit." But when he did, he made sure everything was out of the way, and he talked to you. And frankly, I don't know if it's just Michael, but athletes in all sports are doing interviews better.
Wow. Go ahead, MJ. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bruce.
Oh, I'm going to totally jump on this because Michael Jordan's my favorite athlete, favorite player of all time. So I'm totally going to take full advantage of this topic, Thomas. All right. So saying that, what Terry Francona said about Michael Jordan, if he had more opportunities with Major League Baseball, if he continued to pursue it the way he pursued the NBA, what position do you think he would have been most comfortable? Would it remain in the outfield, and where would he be hitting in the lineup?
I would think he would hit down toward the bottom of the order. I think left field, probably the best spot for him. However, I will say this. The speed that he had, I could see him coming off the bench and, making an impact on some games. Now, I don't know that he would have gotten to the point of a Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders, who were real threats. But Michael on the bases, I mean, for a guy who had no experience and hadn't played baseball since the 7th grade, and that's the thing that a lot of people, I think, don't get about this, is that, yeah, the numbers weren't great in AA. Let's face it, they weren't good enough to advance him. But you're talking about a guy who hadn't played baseball since the 7th grade, and he's going out there against people who are going to be in the major leagues. So it's
that's wild.
I actually thought he did decently, and one of my favorite memories of it, or not a memory, but one of my favorite stories was LaTroy Hawkins ended up pitching forever in the big leagues for almost everybody, but he wanted an autograph, and I think he was able. I can't remember if he got it before the game or afterward, but Michael walks, and then LaTroy picks him off, but he ends up getting the guy's autograph. So there were little things like that going on. Yes,
I love that. That's great. So now to bring it a little bit current now, Thomas.
Yeah.
So currently right now in the Rockies system, who's an up and coming guy that may not be getting enough pub by the general public or from the Rockies fans or anything like that? Who's a guy right now that you're like, okay, I could see this being a potential, not you can even say role player, but like a guy that's just going to potentially surprise a lot of people.
Well, I don't know about surprise. What's going on in the system, like you had Nolan Jones, they traded for him, but also Brenton Doyle in center and definitely Ezekiel Tovar.
Mm-hmm.
3 rookies up the middle, and with Tovar and Doyle in the middle of the diamond that are Gold Glove candidates. Mm-hmm. There's some ability coming through. I do think there's a gap, so next year could be rough again. But there's a guy that I think people don't talk. There are 2 guys that people don't talk enough about. I'm going to talk about them because they are power hitters. Yanquiel Fernandez. He was a Cuban defector that they signed a few years back. He's only 21 years old. Really burned up the Class A league and got to Double-A at a very young age. Another guy got there at a young age was Jordan Beck out of the University of Tennessee, actually a first-round pick in 2022. And he's hit home runs all the way through the system. But you're talking about those 2 guys. And I guess the third one, if you're watching the Arizona Fall League, Sterling Thompson is really having a good time there. Okay. He's a corner outfielder and a second baseman. So it looks like they're developing some depth and some guys that can hit the ball a long ways. And there are some middle infielders like Adel Amador, a switch hitter. But some of the guys will not be ready at the start of next season, but I do think that if they play their cards right and they all don't get hurt and guys actually make the transition, there could be a decent generation of young Rockies.
Let's hope for no General Hospital.
That's right. Well, no, yeah, I think we hope the pitchers get out of the hospital because that's the flip side of this whole thing. I mean, you look at the rotation. They went through all kind of injuries this year. Then in 1 week, 3 of their top 4 draft picks, 3 of their top 4 prospects had Tommy John surgery. So you're missing those guys next year too. So they've got to figure out where the innings are going to come from. I can hear the melodramatic music. Actually. Where are my innings going to come from? It's an issue. So I'm not predicting anything great from the Rockies next season, but I do think that they're heading in the right direction.
Thomas, at what point, the Rockies have never been crazy spenders, correct?
Correct.
So at what point is that even a possibility? With a young talent that they could have, like you said, everybody gets healthy. If everybody can rise through the ranks like you think they may be able to, what is the potential for a big signing? Is that even anywhere on their radar whatsoever? Or are they just kind of going to continue, I'm an A's fan, on that type of path where it's all going to be homegrown always?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like right now, I think in order to prop this up and quicken the path to winning, they may need to make some trades with some of their young players. It could be prospects. It could be someone like a second baseman, Brendan Rodgers, where a lot of teams, even ones in the playoffs, seem to be looking at that position to get some pitching in here. And I think that would shorten things up. But it's not going to be high-priced pitching. I mean, the biggest move that they've made in recent years, and this was under the previous GM, Jeff Bridich, they traded Corey Dickerson, who was in his arbitration years. They traded him to Tampa Bay, got German Marquez, and that was the start of the 2017 and 2018 teams that went to the playoffs. None of those teams spent particularly big except for signing their own guys. And it seems like that's the way it works around here. I mean, they develop their own prospects, and it's a slow path. Sometimes it's a long path, but then they win and you don't see it coming. Now, you would like for them to make some moves to kind of change that a little bit and maybe get there a little quicker.
So I'm curious, Thomas, that division is so good. Right? The NL West, you see the Diamondbacks who are in the NLCS right now. How much harder is it for the Rockies to want to be good when the Giants seem to always be good? The Diamondbacks are always going to, be scrappy. Nobody thought they were going to make it this year, right? And now here they are in the NLCS. Obviously, we don't have to talk about the Dodgers, right? In such a hard division, I mean, it's not, again, I go back to the A's because they, in my opinion, they're kind of like sister teams in the way that they struggle. They don't spend, right? But the A's don't even have a hard division to go through, and they still refuse to spend money. Like, does that realistically deter the Rockies from wanting to go for it year in and year out when they're like, I have one of the hardest divisions in baseball to go through?
Well, I think if you look at the West, I mean, the Dodgers, they've won, 11 out of the 12 years? I think they're going to win it 11 out of every 12 years until the end of time.
Probably.
But they may never win the World Series as usual. So there is that.
Oh,
they won the Mickey Mouse World Series.
You go back to 2000, what was it, 2016, where the other two teams in the playoffs were the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. After that, there was one year the Giants won it. So the Diamondbacks, I'm looking at those guys where I remember talking to the general manager, Bill Schmidt, early in the season. And this was before the Diamondbacks really established that they were for real. And he's like, looking over there, realistically, the Rockies are a year behind them. Now, it looks like a little bit further behind. But I think if you do things right, you can get into the playoffs. And that's all you need to do is get in the playoffs.
Yep.
The Rockies have never won this division, but they've been to the World Series,
Yeah.
So the thing is that if you can kind of get it all together at the same time, and I think that's where these teams that don't spend crazy amounts of money, that's where they run into problems, is that you have to wait for everything to come together at once. But if it comes together all at once, you've got a chance, Now, the issue with the Rockies is, unlike the A's, the Rockies every now and then go out and spend, whether it was Todd Helton years ago or Nolan Arenado or Chris Bryant. They go out and spend for that guy to try to set things. But if it doesn't happen, what you want is the guys that you develop to come along and kind of overtake the veterans, frankly.
Thomas, the A's just make me so sad. I know that's not what we're here to talk about, but Bruce, I just need somebody else who understands my pain. Like,
you're good. Go for it.
It's just, Thomas, they make me so sad.
I can understand being so sad. I mean, hey, listen, when I was little, Reggie Jackson was leading an A's team that won 3 straight World Series. I mean, I'm sitting there watching this, so I understand your pain. I can feel it. I mean, I've seen them also. The A's are kind of a hard team to figure because I think there was a narrative when they were going to the playoffs that it was the magic of Billy Beane and Moneyball, and that was the only reason they were going. Guess what? They had 3 of the best pitchers of a generation. I mean, they won games 2-1 for a long time. It wasn't like they simply outsmarted everybody. Well, the pitchers outsmarted them. You couldn't hit them.
Right.
That was the big difference in it. And I think that I would say if the A's ever come back, it would be because of pitching. Listen, I hope they stay there. I hope they figure out a way. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope they stay there for one of 2 reasons. One, Oakland deserves it. I mean, I know some of the fans there, and all those fans seem to know each other and enjoy each other's company. I want to see them have a bigger group of fans there. Hey, it's a bandwagon that they're welcoming. The other is, I don't want them to move to Las Vegas because I'd love for Las Vegas to be there as an possible expansion city.
Yeah,
and probably move the Rockies to the rightful division, I've kind of made this up, the American League Midwest, where it's the Rockies, the Royals, and the 2 Texas teams, because it stops it helps the Texas teams not have to play a large portion of their schedule on the West Coast. The kids could stay up and see them. And I just think that these cities work well together. Now, it's not going to be any easier for the Rockies or the Royals because Texas and Houston are pretty darn good. But I think that's kind of the rightful division.
Yeah, but that would, and I'm sorry you do work for them, so I don't want you to say it, so I can say it. That would require MLB to change up some of their marketing and make sure that things work out. I was just gonna say that. That it requires them to change up a little bit of some of the marketing ploys and some of their advertising and some of the scheduling conflicts that they continuously have in order for. And this is me ranting, so I apologize, Thomas. I'm just saying that Major League Baseball needs to do a better job of putting product out there for it to grow organically.
Well, I will say this about Major League Baseball. The change and I think expanding by 2 more teams will kind of solidify the change in the schedule. hardly anybody dropped in attendance this year. I mean, it's not like baseball is bad right now. And the new schedule really made a difference because every other year you get the if you're in National League City, every other year you get the Yankees or the Red Sox. You get good draws. The end of the season in Denver, there were 40,000 people for that series against the Twins. Large numbers of Twins fans came down because they've never really been to Denver. I mean, I think that a lot of the things that are happening, it is very, of course, I am MLB.com, and obviously I want the game to do well, but it seems very, I've never understood this about baseball. I'm not accusing you guys of it, but nobody runs down the product like baseball people. You know, it's like these playoffs, okay? There is nothing more, for me, the best playoff in all of sports is the National Hockey League. You had an 8 seed, the Los Angeles Kings, win a Stanley Cup one year. You had the Nashville Predators go to the finals and get slaughtered by my Pittsburgh Penguins. But you always have those lower seeds that do great things. This year, because these 100 teams win teams lost, the question was, do the playoffs have credibility? Of course they do.
They do, and they want to, and that's fair. And I love that too. And you make a very, very good point on that too, because you don't see any other professional leagues have a top, like a 1 seed end up going out in the first round. You saw it very, very rarely in the NBA. I think 1 or 2 times.
Rarely, yes.
Yeah, you very rarely see it in the NFL right away. Like, yeah, that's a really good point, and it does speak. You made a very good point, Thomas. Attendance all across the baseball was up this year. I think part of the problem, though, it's still like there are really big markets with really good teams. For instance, in Tampa, they had a playoff game.
Oh, good call.
And there's no fans there. And I understand Thomas, isn't Tampa one of the stadiums? It's not very easy to get to, right?
Right. Well, and you know, for me, and I'm no total expert on city planning or anything like that. But having been in Tampa and Miami, okay, most cities are kind of, let's call them circular, okay? And there's a city center. And the city center is the best place for a baseball stadium, with the exception of Atlanta, where it's not actually in the city, but that population has moved around. Tampa Bay and Miami are both, and Tampa Bay is Tampa and St. Pete, and really all these suburbs is about 6 cities, but they're very north-south. And those are cities without mass transit. So that makes it hard. And if you play a game in the afternoon, how do the school kids even get there? I mean, you'd have to pretty much cancel school, and there's still a traffic jam to get to the ballpark. So those 2 cities deal with a couple of things that are unique to me. They even reduced the size of the Tampa Stadium, the seating there, just to make it more intimate and just to increase demand for tickets. I think there's a solution in Tampa, but I don't know what it is. I think there's a solution in Miami, which would be to, when you win, keep your general manager, or something like that, and have kind of a kind of an ability to sustain something. I think there are answers in those 2 cities. I hope there's an answer in Tampa Bay, to be honest with you, because that's a pretty large market. It's not it sounds like a small market team, but it's a larger market. But you see it in the NFL, where you play just 10 games as opposed to 81. You see it in the National Hockey League, where it's a much smaller arena and you can feel it. It's been very hard in baseball. I would love for them to find the right spot for a stadium, because I would not want to see that team move. But if it did move, please move to Montreal, because I miss that town.
Montreal Expos. That, and man, those teams back in that Guerrero and all those guys. Oh man,
and the uniforms too.
True.
Oh yeah. Well, and I don't know if you know, but I'm a big uniform guy. But
that's awesome.
Oh yeah, design for some high school teams, do some stuff like that.
Really?
But watching those Montreal Expos, and it's funny because I went there at the very end, and I was very sad when I went to Montreal, because Olympic Stadium was built kind of on an outskirts. And it seemed like it reminded me of, actually Turner Field reminded me of that, is that it's 1 mile away from everything. And it's in the middle of nowhere, you know. But then I go into downtown Montreal, and as I remember once talking to a Canadian Football League player who said that when that franchise, and they had a lot of trouble, but when that franchise seemed to be folding, the players got together and cried because it's such a wonderful place to be. I would love to see Montreal back in this league.
Wow. Well, Thomas, I just have one more question before MJ wraps it up with you. So you kind of already brought up Olympic. What's the excitement level that you have now that the Olympics have actually brought back baseball back into that market?
I'm excited about baseball should be in the Olympics. I'm more excited for the countries outside of the United States. You see, the World Baseball Classic has picked up some things in Europe. I'd gotten to know one of the writers from the Czech Republic, and there's some enthusiasm about it. You see Great Britain, a few other places. I don't know how it will work with Major League Baseball. I can't imagine Major League Baseball shortening its season or taking a 2-week break to send the best players to the Olympics. I think the World Baseball Classic has done what it needs to do on the national level. But, I don't know how it's going to work, but I think baseball should be there in the Olympics, but I'm not the guy to figure out how.
I honestly, I think it'll kind of work like the point in time where we weren't sending NBA players to the Olympics. It'll just, I would assume it would just be some of the best college guys, right? And that would be their chance to really showcase themselves. But I would
think the minor league guys actually, it seems like some of the last attempts at the Olympics was a lot of minor league guys. And then you have a pretty good tournament if you look at some of the countries that play baseball. I mean, I think that would help. It's just, as you say, it is kind of hard not having the best of the best there at the Olympics, but I just don't know how it works in the schedule unless you had a Olympics in a hot weather place in the winter or something like that. But even then, you kind of mess with the schedule of the players. Right. So I don't know how to work it, but I am happy it's back.
Fair. Me too. Real quick, Thomas, before we let you go, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. Awesome. We love having you on. You said you're a big uniform guy, and so I have to ask 2 questions. Very easy questions if you are such a big uniform guy. Number 1, favorite baseball uniform. This can be current or all time. And number 2, favorite non-baseball uniform.
Okay, favorite baseball uniform I have to stick with, and I hope they continue it, the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's not...
Here we go, Sorry, go ahead, Thomas.
It's not just the look itself and the colors, but this is where you get to be a real nerd. You look at the stitching, the birds and the logo, the chain stitching. That is something that's just meticulous, and it's beautiful. In fact, the first jersey I ever bought was a Cardinals jersey back when they had light blue road uniforms. This will date me because I bought it and I actually had the sporting goods shop put number 1 on the back of it. For whom? For whom?
Ozzie Smith?
No, it was Gary Templeton. And I remember they traded Gary Templeton. And I'm like, they traded for this Ozzie Smith fellow? Who's this guy? Of course, I learned very quickly about that. So that is my favorite uniform. However, there are some others that I like. I mean, I like the Tiger uniform. And what was a favorite uniform in all of sports, huh? Sports outside of baseball.
Yes.
Let's see here. Well, I am partial to the black and gold of the Penguins and the Steelers. So I am partial to those colors. And the least favorite, I'm going to do this because everybody gets mad. My least favorite uniform is the Dodgers. Least.
Oh, done. That's perfect. I love that.
Really?
I hate it. But here's the reason, is that their colors are blue and white. The hat is blue and white. The socks are blue and white. The shoes are blue and white when they don't wear their own shoes. Then there's that big silly red number that's just out of nowhere, and it drives me OCD crazy. I've talked to people who design the uniforms. I've talked to people who love it, and they give me explanations as to why, and I don't even understand them. So there we go.
That is fantastic. I mean, I'll rip on the Dodgers anytime. Like I said, I'm an A's fan,
100%.
so any chance I get to rip on the Dodgers,
Yeah, you're talking about the exact opposites. I mean, you imagine the A's outside panhandling, and you imagine the Dodgers speaking with an accent in the rooms,
right?
Wearing robes, saying we're the Dodgers.
The Dodgers. And then I'm a Cubs fan, so.
I like the Cubs uniforms. There's nothing
They're just
wrong with those. Yeah, they don't have anything.
No,
like
there isn't anything wrong with them. In fact, they do the blue and red correctly. So, can I tell myself here? 1969. I'm entering the first grade, and I think the Cubs are so cool. I actually get a teddy bear, which looked a lot like the bear on the sleeve, and I named it Chicago. Then they blew the division against the Mets, and I think I held up Sports Illustrated, looked at my mom, and go, "I hate this team. They're choking dogs," and threw my Sports Illustrated. So.
Yeah, and that continued until 2016.
That's
when
right.
That's been Bruce's entire life outside of 1 year.
Hey, I'm married to a Cubs fan, so that's how it works out. So, yeah.
All right. Well, Thomas, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your evening to chat with us. Before you get out of here, let people know where they can follow you, where they can read all your stuff.
Okay, first of all, it's Rockies.com, and it's part of the whole MLB.com package. So we're all together. On the social media thingy, I am at Harding _ spelled out AT _MLB. I show up on Facebook. You can get my stuff there also. It seems like there's more engagement from the fans from there than on the whatever it's called now.
The Twitterverse,
Yeah, the Twitterverse. I'm also on, what am I on? What is it called? Threads and Blue Sky, which Blue Sky is it's such a peaceful name. It's such a peaceful place. So I'm on all of those.
Peaceful place.
Yeah, Threads. I mean, I think I'm wearing a 3-piece suit, back in the 70s. Hey, nice Threads,
Oh,
but,
man. Got the fluffy, like, what's color right here too, like undershirt. What's it called again? What's that?
The old leisure suit.
Yeah, there it is.
The leisure suit, with no tie. I remember one of the great things about I was young playing basketball, but I'd wear a leisure suit to school because all the NBA coaches wore leisure suits. I'm like, I'm going to play in the NBA. Then, of course, I completely stopped growing at 5'6", but. And all the coaches wore leisure suits. I'm like, at the end of it, I'll put on my leisure suit and I'll coach. I actually told my dad once, he was getting on me about how I was dressing. I'm like, Dad, ties are out of style and they'll never come back. Within 2 years, I'm like, Dad, do you have any ties? And he's laughing at me.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Hey, at some point, I want to hear about this baseball career. You coached him in freshman baseball.
I did.
Okay.
It was.
I was decent.
Okay. Relax. Pump the brakes. I'll talk about it. Honestly, real quick, Thomas. I'll fill you in. MJ was a very hard worker. Always wanted to be on the field. However, he. Like many Rockies players currently, was a general hospital guy, and unfortunately, he had a lot of issues with his back and whatnot. However, when he was out there, he was a significant contribution type guy. Pitching, he could pitch. He threw pretty hard. He probably threw if I remember off the top of my head, MJ, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he probably threw one of, if not the fastest on the team. Played decent third base. There was I have a burned-in image of him going down for a ground ball in a really hilarious way. I fielded
Thomas instead of backhanding on the third base line. I went around for the scoop. I hated backhanding.
And he squatted down. It was
So I refused to backhand because I sucked at it, and so I played everything, I played almost on the line so that everything would be either in front of me or to my left. And we had a really athletic shortstop, so I had no problem leaving a little bit of that hole open. So I just, I would go towards the line. And so I did a weird scoop thing, and it really drove Bruce crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking, was Troy Tulowitzki your shortstop covering all that ground? That's great. I think the last baseball game I played third base, and it was the most fun I'd ever had in my life.
Yep. Hot corner,
Yeah.
baby.
I loved third base, but yeah, I actually broke my spine when I was in high school. I was playing first base, guy on second, ground ball through the hole into right field. I went for it, and then I was backpedaling. Shut up, Cy. I will smoke you. I haven't pitched in 3 years, and I will smoke you, brother.
I love it.
But I was backpedaling towards the cut of the infield grass, and the kid who hit the single just absolutely ran me over. And he was like 6'4", 250. He was a tank. And he ran me over, and his elbow chipped my L5.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
No.
Or, as we said, growing up playing football, that stuff doesn't tickle.
No.
Yeah. For real. And it was a cold day, so it was like my back was already tight. It was not good. So, I mean, I ended up being able to, I played club baseball at my college when I was there. So I was able to play again. I just never had, the way I describe it is I never had the extra gear pitching that I did before. So like I could get it up to, mid 80s when I was in college, but there was no more there. The extra, I really need to get this guy out. This is my best last pitch. That there just wasn't anything extra there because I don't know. I just didn't have the strength. So
tough stuff, man. But
he was a good kid, though. He was a good kid.
Good kid.
Decent,
Yeah.
Decent,
and you said, and you sent him to college, so everything's okay. And
yeah.
Whatever the college's intramural team was, they appreciated having you.
Yeah, and we did really well. We almost, the story of everybody's lives right at the beginning of COVID. We were on our way to, the Division I club baseball championship or whatever before
what
COVID
school is
hit.
this?
Bradley University in Peoria, Illinois.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so all of the club teams play for all of the schools, and so we were a D1 team for sports, so we were a D1 club team, and we had won our division, and we were going to go to whatever the college club World Series was or whatever, and then COVID struck, and we all died on the inside. And that's when I started this show with Bruce.
You just reassemble your teams and have the COVID World Series that should have been. Yes.
I wish, Thomas. That would be so much fun. And I need to start playing again, or at least do a men's league or something.
Yes.
Right. Love it.
I do. All right. Well, Thomas, thank you so much, sir. And I'm going to be honest. We had so much fun with you. I'm going to let you know we also have a baseball-specific show. That we've started here. So we'd love to have you on there sometime, maybe after the championship games are decided. So, you can come on with the guys and talk World Series. But, we really appreciate you coming on. This has been so much fun.
Hey, I've had a blast. Thank you guys very much.
Absolute pleasure, sir.
All right. Take care of yourself, Thomas. We'll talk to you later,
You
sir.
too. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Great guy. Honest to God, I could have kept talking the whole time. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, Connor yelled at us multiple times. He's like,
I know. He's already in this.
He's like 8:15, 8:25. I'm sorry, Connor. I'm sorry.
MJ's life story can be heard during.
Yeah, my wife's in here. She's like, it's time to go get dinner. All right, but yes, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you to Reid. Thank you to Thomas for coming on. Bruce, I don't have anything else. I'm satisfied.
Well, you know what? Real quick, shout out. Use Third Down Thursdays at the checkout. Get yourself a nice little discount. I think it was 10% if I remember correctly. With some W energy, be better with W.
Amen.
That being said, MJ, I think it's time for. I don't know. Do you want to run it? Do you want me to run it?
It's time. I'll run it.
Okay.
It's time.
It's your boy. Hi, Paige.
Cy, I'm striking you out on 3 pitches, and it's not even close, brother. You're getting obliterated in that box, and you don't even know what's coming.